everyone, and welcome back to Crime on a Dime. In today's episode, we will be addressing the over 23-year-old mystery of the murder of the 6-year-old pageant queen. Have any of you ever heard of Jon Benet Ramsey? Weird name for a very weird story. This 6-year-old beauty queen was found murdered in her own home at 6 years old. Jon Benet Ramsey was brutally murdered, and up until now, more than 20 years later, her murder is still unsolved. Her murderer is still not caught. And to me, that is absolutely kind of crazy and very, very disturbing, because the guy that murdered a 6-year-old is still out there. So, and the mystery of who actually killed her was never solved. And there have been many theories, like was it her mom, her dad, her brother, was it actually a third party, was it some type of accident, or many and many, many more. Here are some known facts about this case to give us a base. So Jon Benet's mom enrolled her in many beauty pageants, and she won the title of American Royal Miss, Little Miss Java Locks, Little Miss Colorado, Colorado State All-Star Cover Girl, and many, many, many more. Her father was always on edge and always against about this whole pageant idea, since he knew that there were many weirdos out in the world and how his pedophiles, sex offenders, y'all get the gist. Her father was the one who actually discovered her body, and I will return to that later. And now, let's get on to the story. It was a cold, snowy night in Boulder, Colorado on December 25th, 1996. Everyone was celebrating, apart from the Ramsey family, who were distraught over the disappearance of their daughter. On December 26th, her mom realized that Jon Benet was actually missing. In her place was a ransom note, which read, Mr. Ramsey. The fact that this note is addressed to Mr. shows us the person or people who wrote this note were not addressing Jon Benet's parents, but they were blatantly directing the note towards her father. Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We, the word do here is crossed out. Respect your business, but not the country that it serves. From this, we were able to gather that the people who wrote this are foreigners, most likely in an organization that dislikes America, but we also see that the organization knows of or personally knows Jon Benet's dad. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her in 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. He or she is saying that allegedly at this time, they have their daughter. This would give any reader and anybody the thought process that she has already been taken. But many theories say that Jon Benet actually never left her home, and that it was her family covering up the murder, or that the murderer simply murdered her, leaving her body behind and then writing the ransom note. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 is in $20 bills. This part is actually quite interesting because this was the exact amount of money that Jon Benet's father, John, Christmas bonus check was written out for. $118,000. Either this was a simple coincidence, or someone knew about this bonus, or Jon Benet's parents were trying to make it seem so. Make sure you bring an adequate self-attaché to the bank. You will get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct our delivery. This is actually a highly sophisticated use of vocabulary, which, from what I suspect, puts Jon Benet's brother, Burke, forgot to mention, she has a brother, and we'll get on a bit more to him later, in the clear, since he was 9 at the time, or does it really? Most likely incapable of using such high vocabulary. Also, the fact that the writer wrote tomorrow suggests that the note was written on Christmas Day or some of hours before. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence an earlier delivery, this word is crossed out, pickup of your daughter. This would indicate that the alleged kidnapper would have strong monitoring on Jon Benet's father. Also, the phrasing of the sentence, a earlier delivery, would indicate to the idea that this organization was foreign and that English was not their first language.
Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial.
This is very disturbing and a directed threat of Jon Benet's dad that if he doesn't do as he's told, Jon Benet will wound up dead.
The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them.
This further expresses the idea that the organization, now known to be a party of 3, do not like Jon Benet's father.
Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices. If any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant security as well as authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be different. Don't underestimate us, Johnny. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC.
Okay, so let's recap. So there was another inhumane threat against Jon Benet's life. We see that the kidnapper will not only murder her, but behead her. Could it be actually possible that this was a legitimate ransom note written by a determined party of kidnappers who, finding out that Jon Benet's father, was planning or was deviating their very specific instructions, resulting in the end of Jon Benet's short life? This is a very unlikely scenario though, since Jon Benet's body was found in her basement and would have been very risky and a very bold move to keep her abducted in the basement, even though it was the place where no one looked, since everyone had actually assumed that she has been moved out of the house, when in reality their daughter could have been right under their noses that whole time. Maybe it was obvious to the kidnappers that the Ramseys were not going to comply. That could have led to Jon Benet being executed immediately, as their note had said. Also, the length of the time between the fatal and frantic phone call to 911 made minutes before 6 a.m. by Jon Benet's mom. And let's go back to the note for a second and said that you cannot alert the police or FBI. So, I mean, that kind of it's a bit iffy. Because if they said they will kill your daughter if you call the police or alert anyone, they will kill her and you still call the police, I mean. What? So her mom, Patsy, disregarded the whole instructions left by Jon Benet's alleged kidnappers. And anyways, the police arrived 3 minutes after the 911 call. The officer, Rick French, was one of the officers who responded to the call. They made a thorough search through the house, but avoiding to go into the basement, where later I'll spoil something, they find Jon Benet's body, or so we think. We are skeptical here because maybe she was not there yet, who knows. At 1:00 p.m. the police ordered another search of the Ramsey family home. This time the police were accompanied by Jon, her father. They went down to the basement and what they found was horrifying. Jon Benet's lifeless 6-year-old body, covered by nothing but a white sheet, her hands and neck tied together by a nylon cord, duct tape on her mouth, and stun gun wounds on her body. Jon then made the critical mistake of going and grabbing Jon Benet's body to carry her up to the living room, ultimately destroying all and every single piece of evidence that could have been linked to the murder of Jon Benet. He just wiped all the prints that there were. Which gets me thinking, did he do this because he knew? Or because he was distraught and wanted to hold his daughter just one more time? But nonetheless, what he did was really dumb and thoughtless, because this is what led to the more than 20-year search for her killer. What did actually kill Jon Benet, you might ask? Well, her autopsy revealed that she died from asphyxia, aka the nylon cord wrapped around her neck. But later on in this autopsy, it was revealed that she had severe head trauma, hit with something so hard that it fractured her skull. Also, a pineapple-like substance was found in her body. I know it doesn't really add up to anything, but just thought it was quite interesting. But her parents don't remember giving her any pineapple, but her brother did get pineapples, so... But, according to her parents, her brother was asleep throughout the whole ordeal, ultimately leading him out of the investigation and making him not a suspect, right? But also, it's quite interesting because they keep to that story of her brother being asleep, and they defend it a lot. So, I mean... What? So, there are two theories. One is it was the family's doing, but there is another one that's saying that someone broke into the Ramsey home through the broken basement window. The intruder hit Jon Benet with a stun gun, moved her down to the basement, killed her, and left a ransom note. The funny part about the stun gun was that her father's study actually, there was a stun gun, as well as a book on how to make your own slave using electroshock therapy. I mean, I don't know about you, but if that's his weird fetish, I mean, what? Why would Jon Benet's dad have a stun gun, and why would Jon Benet's body have stun gun wounds on it? I mean, I don't know, but let's continue. Now thinking, an adult could contain a 6-year-old without the need of a stun gun, but a 9-year-old boy probably couldn't. But we cannot involve her brother though, because he was asleep, right? Okay, so this is the only actual piece of evidence that can lead you to believe that her parents didn't do it, was that there was a broken basement window. But there were also 100 burglaries reported in the Ramsey family home area. And burglary, murder, there's no collaboration there really, or is there? But that's not all. That's not all. There were also 38 registered sex offenders in the Ramsey family home area. I mean, Jon Benet was an American beauty queen, and people described her as a sex offender's dream. I mean, absolutely disgusting, but also, why would you move your daughter there, and why wouldn't you, take her out? That's just beyond me, but okay. And then the other theory is the family theory. In the official reports, there was no sign of forced entry. Maybe meaning that she knew her attacker. just thought. The police saw a staging of the ransom note, and the Ramsey family was not cooperative in helping to find the killer. I mean, why would they want to help find the killer if they staged the whole thing? Okay, so backtrack a bit. This is the thing about the ransom note. Ransom notes are usually a sentence or two, being dude, we have your daughter, give us this much, meet us here, you get her back. If not, she dies, you know? But this one was 2.5 pages long. I mean, kinda interesting. And then back to the second theory that the burglar or third party was responsible, that someone broke into the Ramsey family home area through the basement window, found Jon Benet, hit her with a stun gun, and dragged her body down to the basement, then hit her over the head with a flashlight or golf club, and finished the job by strangling her, leaving a ransom note to make it seem like she was still alive just to get some money out of killing a 6-year-old child. And then the other theory, the family theory, there are 3 different versions, is that A, her mom did it because she got in a fight with Jon Benet, and then she accidentally hit Jon Benet, and then thinking that her daughter was dead, tried to stage a murder and finished, ultimately ending Jon Benet's life by strangling her, not realizing that she was still alive. The other one is that it was her brother that, being so jealous that she was loved by the whole state, and he was just kind of the little thing on the side, he decided to murder his sister in order to get more attention. And last is her dad, because of the stun gun in his office, and because of the book on how to make your own slave with electroshock therapy. People started to think that maybe Jon Benet, the therapy or whatever, wasn't working on her, and that he just got bored and just decided to, you know what, I'll just kill her, you know? Okay, so time goes on, new technology is invented to help figure out old unsolved crimes, and there was more investigation made to this case in 1998 to retest the DNA, and there was actually a third party's DNA who was not in the system. So, who was this person whose DNA was found in Jon Benet's underwear? And why was it in her underwear? And now in 2003, the Ramsey family give permission to take this case to the news and TV. In the crime show CBS, they accused Burke of being the murderer. The Ramsey family did not like it, and this is because Burke was sleeping, right? So he was innocent. So they sued CBS for an unknown amount of money, but honestly, it's probably a lot. Now, everyone wants to know. In 2008, someone came out to the public and said that the Ramsey family did not do this, and if you say that they did this one more time, you'll be sued for everything you have and everything you own. So now it put all of America into the little bubble that a third party did this crime. Then 15 years later, Burke, the brother, does an interview. He has never said anything or has never spoken about this case ever. And the actually weird thing is about this is that it looks like he was smiling the whole time and clings to his innocence and says, "I think it was a pedophile or burglar that killed my sister." But now in December of last year, almost 23 years later, someone confessed. A man named Gary Oliver, who is 54 years old now, he admitted to the murder. But the one sketchy part about this is that he's already in prison. He's a convicted pedophile with photos of 4 to 7-year-old girls performing with way older men. He was in prison for 10 years, and in prison he was writing a letter to his childhood friend Michael Vale, confessing to the crime. In the letter he wrote, "I never loved anyone the way I loved Jon Benet, and yet I let her slip and hit her head bashed in half, and I watched her die." He then goes on to say, "It was an accident, please believe me, she was not like other kids. Jon Benet completely changed me and removed all evil from me. One look from her beautiful face, her glowing beautiful skin, and her divine god body. I realized I was wrong to kill other kids, yet by accident she died, and it was my fault." Okay, so, she was 6. She was 6 years old. Her divine god body? 6-year-old child? I mean, this disgusting old man saying she had a divine god body. Like, let's back up a bit, back to the actual day of her finding. On December 26th, the day of her finding, Gary called Michael and said that I heard a little girl. There was an evidence found that proved Gary innocent of the crime. And then in 2007, there was a different man, well, not a man, a abomination of a man, a pedophile admitting to the crime, who was later ruled out because he did not do this. Over more time, more and more pedophiles admitting to the crime because it was so famous that people wanted the 10 minutes of fame and I guess the hate of the whole world. Also, in the letter Gary wrote Michael, and the ransom note is completely different. The handwriting is just not right. Like, the S's are different, the A's are different, every letter is just different. And one final thing. When the crime occurred, since Gary was one of the 38 registered sex offenders living in Jon Benet's surroundings, he was already investigated and ruled out immediately. So, to finish this podcast off, who do you think did it? Was it her mom? Was it her dad? Her brother? Was it an organization, a burglar, a pedophile? Gary, who actually knows? I personally think that it was the brother, but what does my opinion count? What about you?